Gonna show you how to deploy a PHP Laravel app in this video onto Blossom. So to do that, let's click on the docs here. It's under quick starts we're looking for here, PHP Laravel. Click on that and then gives you quick start instructions. Basically, you're gonna visit the Blossom platform home quick starts page. You can click on the example and you click deploy. That's pretty much the steps we need. Go in there. Now we're in the Blossom platform page here, and you can see PHP Laravel configure and deploy. So what it's doing is pre-filling a quick start form for us. Basically, here's a target cluster. Now you can have multiple clusters. I already created a cluster here to kind of get this demo done. And you can see I created a demo cluster. It's running Hertzner. And you could deploy actually in any cloud provider you want. All the modern or the major cloud providers are supported here. And you can even deploy to your own servers or data center if you wish. But what I did was I created one on Hertzner because they're quite actually affordable there. And then I created a server right here with all the roles kind of collapsed down. So here's the interesting thing about Blossom. What you could do is you could actually have all your server roles collapse down, so you have your load balance and your web tier all together, and that will kind of save costs if that's what you're optimizing for. And on top of that, you can actually deploy multiple apps onto the same server. So you actually click here. I deployed a PHP Slim app earlier, so I'm going to deploy another app, a PHP Laravel app right here on top of the same cluster and server. Now, if you need to scale, what you can do is you actually then separate the load balancer and the web tier onto separate servers, and that's how you can scale out. You can scale out that way. You can also scale out the containers, so you can scale out either at the host server level or at the Docker container level. And so, yeah, underneath the hood, basically this is all done with Docker containers. Let's see what else I want to show here. So I think that explains actually the cluster. So let's kind of go back to the quick start here. So clusters already been set up. Here's the app name. Here's the repository right here. So I'm going to click on that. And you can see it's pretty much a vanilla app right here. I just got it working just for the sake of this demo. So, but I do want to point out, even though we're kind of using Docker and you need a Docker registry here, I'm using Docker Hub here to push the image. So what Blossom does is it builds the Docker image, and then it pushes up to registry, and then it pulls down the image onto all your other servers that needs it. But look here, there's no Docker file in the repository. So Blossom is able to actually infer and determine what language and framework you're using, and then just build the app for you and build a Docker image. Now, if you want to, you can always customize your image more by using your own custom Docker file, but you don't need to. That's completely optional, but you have that flexibility too if you want to do that. Next are environmental variables here. So here are just some environmental variables that are typical in this PHP app. And then a database. So this is database driven. So I actually created the database earlier also. So here you go services. This is where you see your database services. I'm running Postgres here. You click on that, then you can see the database demo right here. That's what we're going to be using. And you can always create these, the service, the database, and everything. Oops, I made it large here. Let me resume that out. Okay, and you could always create the database or create the database service and refresh it here so you can see it. But I'm going to click create app now. Close this down right here. You can see right now there's a bouncy error saying deploy me. So I click on the deploy button, and then that's going to start the deploy process. So now that the deploy process is started, you can see some logs here. If you click on that, here is the main log. So this is like, you can think about this as the cluster level log. This is what's happening across your fleet of servers. And what it's doing is calling this Blossom app build command onto this specific server. We only have one server in this cluster, and it's actually only going to build on one server. But if you have multiple servers, it can build on one server, and then it's going to pull down on all the other servers. So that's what's going to happen right here. It's building right now on a server. And we click on that, it shows the details of the building. So it's actually building the Docker image right now. And once it's kind of done, it's going to then push that image up to that registry. So let's go back to actually the parent log here, and then let's actually go to dashboard while we wait for this, so I can explain kind of how the dashboard works and everything. You can see the dashboard here. This is the deploy button we clicked earlier. Here are the logs we clicked earlier. And here is the Git repository settings. So here, when we created Click Start, it actually configure all this for us. But if you want it like a private repository, just click on that and click Connect Provider, and you can see that it supports all the major Git providers there. And so that's how you would actually connect a private repository versus a public repository, which is what we're using. In this quick start demo, Docker registry, this is where you would tell it to push the Docker registry image to, And you can connect actually multiple registries and link to it in case you want to, let's say, pull images from, let's say, Docker Hub and push images to another registry. Databases. So this PHP app does have a database. And what we did was when we assigned the demo database in the quick start, it actually linked that into the database here. So it has this notion of linked databases, which is going to automatically create this create the database URL environment variable, which is nice because if you click on environment here, you can see here are environment variables that we had in the quick start, but here's the linked environment variable from connecting the database. So that's pretty nice. Activity logs will just show you kind of activities like deploy activities and everything. Then app logs, we're not going to see it yet, but oh, I guess the container is actually almost up and running here because if you don't have a container deployed yet, it's going to show no containers. But now we actually have the web container and you see it's streaming already. Okay, so that's live streaming, which is nice. It's kind of my go-to when I'm kind of debugging, so you can see the requests coming in. So let's go back to the dashboard and click on this. So you see it got pretty far. It built the Docker image. Let's click on that. It pushed it back to parent log. Then went to the release phase where it basically did Docker basically run. This basically did migrate. I should probably explain that a little bit. Let's go back to the app. Go to the GitHub repository. So you could actually override the release phase here, or you could have a release phase in the proc file here that is going to run basically whatever command you want to run as part of the kind of release phase. If you're familiar with Heroku, is basically the release phase there. Let's go back to the deploy log here. So then it goes to deploy, and then this is where you use the Docker Compose up to start up your application. So it's pretty simple and straightforward there. And then it creates a managed domain. What that is a short URL that makes your app reachable immediately. And then lastly, it creates the load balancer. And remember, I've flattened everything onto this one server, so everything is going to be on one server. And then you click on View App here, and it should show the PHP Laravel app right here. And you can see it's just a random joke database. So this is actually pulling from database. You can see View All Jokes here, and you can actually edit everything. This is a fully CRUD working application here, and there are some links to the Blossom documentation for more information and everything where you could learn more. But that's how you deploy a PHP Laravel application onto Blossom.